Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Conversations with an Investor. This week, we're going to find out, is mindset really important? And if so, why? And this has been taken from a Mount Mindset coaching call. It was that good on Sunday, we didn't even know that we'd ran over by an hour and 20 minutes. That's how much interaction we got in this call. Time flies when you're having fun, is a true saying. And it was a bit of an impromptu idea, and rather lucky that I came across this sort of epiphany of trying this on the Mindset Coaching Group. To give you a bit of background on how this came about, I'm going to tell you about when I wrote my ebook on how to become a property professional. And in the ebook, what I laid out was the template of what foundations you need. So there's lots of people that get involved in property and they can get some degree of success, but at some point their foundations give way. So there's something missing in their strategy or something missing in their principles. So if you imagine that your bedrock or your principles is what you build from and you build up the way, you need them to be stable and secure and able to take the load that you're about to build on. Much like if you were building a house, you set foundations. So the book was to give an insight on what the foundations need to be and what would be my top things to look out for when you're starting out, so that you can signpost all the different sections of this industry that you maybe hadn't considered. And what it's really doing is showing you the whole playing field so that you can understand how the whole industry goes together. And what you do when you do that is that you can see things that you didn't consider. You can understand and where you lack information. So you can understand, hey, look, I'm not as good at that section. I don't know anything about that. So maybe I should keep my eye on it. And that's great, because when you get involved in any industry, if anyone has went from the usual route is you leave school, you get a job. When you get a job, you do a role, and then you're usually in a business that has many people working in it, and you fill one particular role of that business. And then when you take the jump, most people will go to self-employed. And when you go to being self-employed, something unusual happens that people don't really think would happen. And that is, you have got the job that you're really good at. So the thing that you're looking to do in your self-employment, but you also have 100 jobs that you don't know anything about. So like an example could be that, say you were a joiner and that you were a really, really good joiner, and you think, hey, look, I'm going to go out and do business for myself. You're exceptional at doing carpentry. You're an exceptional guy at or gal at putting things together with wood, but you don't know anything about marketing or sales or invoicing or accounting or regulations or cash flow or finances and all these things that come with becoming self-employed. And it's that famous expression, you've got the job that you're really good at and 100 that you know nothing about. And then going through that change from one place to another is a big shift. And just like we explained, if you're making a big shift, you want to build your framework of how you operate on something that's stable. So the idea with the ebook was to say, hey, look, if you're going to try this, here's the things that you need to have in your view. And if you have these in your view, then guess what? You're going to stand a much better chance, because if something crops up, you will know what direction it's coming from, whether it's a regulation or some sort of legal requirement, or is it around funding or financing? Is it around negotiation? Is it around how to analyse different types of properties or different types of structures? So if you understand the basics of them all, then you now have a really good place to start building your framework. And you can also decide which one suits your style. So maybe you're a person that is quite outward and have no problem with speaking to people. So you might want to do the negotiations, you might want to do the visits, you might want to interact with people and that would be your role. So you could speak to contractors and build teams together. Your mortgage broker, your legal team, your contractors, the team of guys that would go out and carry out the work. Maybe you have a project manager and so on. So you're looking to build that around your skills, and then have people within your team that can complement or can cover off your weaknesses. So that way you can have a well-rounded approach. Now, bringing this back to mindset is that going from that shift, whether it's employed to self-employed, or self-employed to becoming a business owner, or a business owner to becoming an investor, that process involves mindset. And that mindset shift is to give you the heads up on the people that have been successful at this have particular things that are all common in their mindset. And in the section of the book, it says, here are those things. So if you have them, great. And if you don't have them yet, then great, you can work towards them. And what we've done when I was reading through this, because there was a slight rebrand on the ebook, and I didn't know if the text had been changed or any of the content. So I incidentally read through it. It was, I hadn't looked at it since I'd first published it. So I thought, well, let's have I'll just take a read through it and see if there's anything that's changed or anything needs updated. It's a great idea. And I was reading through the mindset part, and I thought, something dawned on me. I thought, this isn't just principles for becoming an investor. This doesn't apply to if you're investing, this works. This applies to if you're doing anything. And I thought, that's great. You know what I'll do? I'll do a video. So I thought I'll do a video for the mindset coaching group. And I thought I'll do a video where I explain, hey, look, this is what I found. I read through my ebook. When I was putting the ebook together, I was doing it with the idea that if you're reading this, you're probably going through a shift, or you're probably making that change, or maybe you've had something happen and you're looking for the answers. And here's where your checklist should be. Have you got these in your mindset? Great place to start. And then I thought, well, I've spotted that this actually applies not to investing, but to everything. And then what I was planning to do was to go through, well, here's how I wrote it on the ebook, as in, here's the things that apply if you're an investor, very specific investor terms. But here's how it also applies in wider world if you're trying anything terms. But rather than me doing that video, I thought, well, we've got guys on the call. They've been gracious to come and spend their time, their Sunday evening, and give up their time. Why not let's do a bit of interaction? Because the great thing about a community is that is skilled and is disciplined and is knowledgeable and as much wisdom as you might have. Someone might have something that you don't have yet. So if you can get a group of people that together that will share their collective wisdom, it's greater than any one. And I thought, well, that seems like a good opportunity not to be missed. So I said to the guys, I says, listen, thanks for coming along this Sunday evening. Here's what I thought. Why don't we do it? So I'm going to share with you what we done on that Sunday evening and give you, this is going to be an extract from my ebook. I'll read you the ebook section, and then I'll read you what we came up with. And we'll have a little bit of sort of explanation between the two. There's 5 sections. We'll go through them, and hopefully you will find the connections in here, because I think all of you as well. So let's take a look. So in the mindset section, there's a little summary, which I'll read to you just now. The mindset of an investor is a crucial factor in determining their success in investing, including property investment. While knowledge and expertise are certainly important, having the right mindset can be the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful investor. So here is a few ways in which mindset is important in investing. Number 1, discipline. Investing requires discipline and a long-term perspective. A disciplined investor is able to stick to their investment strategy and resist the temptation to make impulsive decisions based on short-term market fluctuations. Now, this is an interesting one, because what if we look at what has been put here in this section, we'll go through it and we'll see investing requires discipline. So that means that you are you've got a goal that you have that you want to achieve, and you need to have discipline to reach that goal, meaning that there'll be impulses and desires that could take you away from that goal because they'll be short term and this is a long term goal, and you're going to need to face that battle along the way. Sounds familiar. A disciplined investor is able to stick to their investment strategy. That sounds very similar to if you're sticking to anything that requires a duration of time, a diet, a goal, a training plan, a workout program, sticking to the gym, doing your park run. All these types of things require the discipline to state them, and that you won't get the result on just the first time that you do it or the second time you do it. The result requires you to do it often, and that the accumulation of those efforts over time will add up to hit your goal. So the discipline is required to make sure you put the inputs, and the long-term perspective is to make sure that you know that it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen on the first attempt or the second attempt or the third attempt. It's going to be a accumulation of these things that you do over the length of the time horizon that you're doing it on. So it goes on to say resisting the temptations to make impulsive decisions. So what would be the easy one for that? So you're looking at, sticking to a diet. You want a bit of junk. Sticking to the training plan. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start next week. I've got something coming up. I've got a night out planned, and so on and so on and so on. So you can see here this way of writing it has been written in the sense of from an investor, but we can see that there's actually a lot of mileage in terms of how this applies in life. So here's some of the things that we've written down. And what I asked was, what do you think are the issues that people face? So what comes up in life that causes them to knock them off track? So shiny object syndrome. So that's like, I need the newest item. I need the newest car. There's something great. The newest phone, the newest device. They take the impulsive short-term gratification and sacrifice it for the long-term goal. Another one that came up that I thought was really good was giving up too soon. Just think of that. How many people are on the cusp of greatness, literally right about to break through, and they give up. They just stop dead in their tracks, and all the work they've done up to that point is gone, because they revert and they go back to their original self. We go on to say short-term decisions takes you away from the long-term goals, and it's always a lack of consistency. So how does that work? What it means is that, right, say you've got a training plan and you need to train 5 times a week for 12 weeks. So you've got 60 sessions that you need to complete. And at the end of that goal of those 60 sessions, you would be a lean, mean fighting machine. You'd be exceptional at whatever it is that you're going to do: park run, marathon, Ironman, ETAP, racing event, cycling event, whatever the particular thing is that you're aiming for. But you want to show up on those days. And every day that you don't show up, you're taking a bit out of your long-term goal. So there's a brick that could have been put in your wall that you're looking to create. Rome wasn't built in a day. And that day that you don't show up and put that brick in the wall is a day that your wall could have had something and you didn't put it in. So the short-term comfort of I will do it tomorrow, or I can't be bothered today, really has a big detrimental effect, because, as we said, the accumulation of these things that you do add up over time. And if you don't do them, that accumulates the wrong way. So you're not doing the things that you need to do. And it's that consistency that kills you. And one of the things I see in mindset all the time is that people come out the gates hot, really motivated, and you can actually see how interactive and engaged they are, and then back to their old self, just like that. And that's a micro version of the big macro reason that people don't get the results, is they don't stick to it. Another one is FUD. FUD. So for those that aren't familiar with the acronym FUD, it stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So, say something fluctuates, like for instance, if you're an investor, say you have a long-term bias or an opinion that something is going to be bullish, that means that in the long term you think this thing is going to go up, this investment of whatever type, stock or bond or currency or commodity, whatever it may be, a business of any type, you have a long-term view that this thing will continue to go up. But in the short term, there may be volatility, and that volatility might be to the downside. What that means is that it might be bullish in the long term, but short term it's had a bit of a hit, and then it returns. But in that period of time, the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt kicks in, and people just exit out of it. And what that looks like is, if you, like, what would be an analogy for life? Well, it would be like you start your training plan and you go out 3 runs, and you've just made it around the block, and your grand plan's to have a marathon, to run a marathon. You've got 26.2 miles to run, and you get to the 3rd day and you say, fuck it, I can barely run round the block, I'm out of breath, I'm sweating, I'm 3 runs in, I'm never going to make it. Well, that uncertainty or doubt, it's more doubt there, that doubt that you'll not make it cuts you off, and that short-term feeling destroys your long-term goal. So that is number 1 in mindset, in the ebook of how to become an investor, what you need, and that is completely translatable to everything that you can look at in life. So the next thing I asked this is, how could we write this in a way that would be that would work for my mindset, like for people that's not investor related, it's not investing. How would you write it? And this is what we came up with. People who achieve their goals successfully stick to their plan with the long-term outcome or result that they want, and they do not give in to the short-term temptations. And they don't quit. They see it out. They show up and they stick to the plan because they have their eyes on the prize, the long-term goal. And that forges discipline, because they show up when they don't want to. They make it happen. They will put in that brick every day into the wall. They will understand that the cumulative effect adds up, and they make it happen. So that is discipline. Number 2, patience. Well, they say a thing about patience is patience is a virtue. And anyone, and many, many people that are successful lack this virtue, but they will have learned how to bring it into their life, because patience can be well rewarded. Let's find out what we wrote in the ebook. Investing in property often requires patience, as it can take time to find the right property, secure finance, and see returns on your investment. A patient investor is able to wait for the right opportunities to come along rather than rushing into investments that might not be a good fit. So what's that like in terms of, from an investing standpoint, is that people that rush in can end up with a noose around their neck, or they buy something that doesn't fit their particular strategy. So for instance, you're looking to build cash flow because you want to replace your income so you can get away from corporate life or out the employment space. You want to be your own boss. Great goal, astonishingly good goal. But you buy a property that's designed as a quick flip. So it involves intensive work. You need to be on site. You're managing a team of guys that are carrying out the work for you, or you're trying to do the work for yourself, but you're also need to make your job. And at the outcome of this, you don't have a regular, consistent income from the property. You actually just have one lump sum payment if you get it all working well. Now, is a property strategy in terms of, did you make money? Yes. But does it fit your strategy and your long-term goal? No. Why did you do it? Well, you possibly was like, this is the only one that's available just now, rather than wait, tell you what I'll do, I'll just charge her and do this. Why not? It's better than doing nothing. And that patience hasn't been rewarded in the way that you would like, because it doesn't match your long-term goal. So we went on to say, hey, look, guys, what do you think of this? What's the signs that people are doing this type of thing in their life? What can we look for? And this is what the mindset coaching community come up with, lack of patience. They're looking for instant gratification. I want it now. I need it now. And the only thing that I will do is make sure I have it right now. Sounds like Willy Wonka's, who was a spoiled girl? It was Victoria Gloop, or no, it was Augustus Gloop. It was a character in the Willy Wonka movie. It was a spoiled girl, and she was a spoiled brat, and the father pandered to her every need, and she ended up becoming a cropper because she didn't want to wait until the sweet was through its testing. She took it and blew up into a blueberry. Her name will come to me, but that is like instant gratification. I want it now, regardless of the consequences. So it says that we went on to say, like, slow gains don't show up instantly, which I thought is a really good way of putting it. So that means that if something is taking time to form, you don't see it straight away. A great example is a diet. You start dieting and you can be really, really, really strict all day. And at the end of that day, you look exactly the same. The slow results form, and you need to do them for a lot of days in a row for you to see the change. The result is way in the future, but you don't get to see the instant result. And that is why a lot of people end up giving in, because the temptation of the junk food is much higher. It's the exact same as with anything that we go at. If there's a temptation to do something now that will give you a better feeling, then why delay for this thing that may show up later on down the line? And what we went to say is that this causes motivation to dwindle, right? So what happens is when you start something, you're really, really motivated, and if you don't see the results straight away, your motivation drops because you're not getting the hit, you're not getting the feedback, the snappy, hey, look, it's working. You're not. If it's a slow burn and it takes time, just like your diet or your training or your fitness or your building muscle or whatever it is that you're trying to do, it takes time. If you don't have that patience, then you're going to struggle with motivation because you've lost the long-term goal. And if you set that expectation that it's going to take a long time, you're going to prime yourself for success. So we went on to say, successful people who hit their goals, they filter their choices by the end outcome. They will wait for the right opportunities to present themselves and then go at them at full speed. So that would be things like your choice of food, your choice of training, your choice of your decisions that you make during the day, your preparation in terms of if you are preparing for the next day, if you're scheduling your week, if you're reviewing your results. These are all things that we teach in the mindset coaching community, because there's nothing new or groundbreaking in the mindset coaching group. It's just things that have been tried and tested over years, and there's an accumulation of exactly what has worked. Like, people have what made this work. This is what they've done, and here's the hub of where you can get all the information that is proven time after time to be successful for people to get the results. And if you stick to them, these principles, and you apply this in your life, it is impossible that you don't get better, because the people that have tried these methods have found success. Patience and waiting for that result to show is one of them. Number 3, risk management. All investments come with some degree of risk. A successful investor is able to assess and manage risk effectively while avoiding making irrational decisions based on fear or greed. Now, that's an interesting one, fear or greed. So let me tell you about fear and greed. Fear and greed is interesting because it's opposite ends of the same thing. So it's fear and greed is a desire for a result, and that desire can show up as fear or greed. So for instance, if you want to sell a property quickly because the prices are high now, you might take that because it's hot money and you can take it out of the market, even though your long-term strategy might be to get cash flow. But in reality, you look at this cash flow and you say, right, look, the property might be worth even more in the future, and I might get cash flow out of it now, but I'm prepared to take the hot money, and that could manifest as greed because you think, hey, I could buy, something flash or a cruise or something short term gratification. What happens is that's detached from your long term goal. Fear on the other side of that is if, say, you've bought a particular investment with the idea that in the long term it will go up in value, but there's, say, a market correction or a market recession and the prices of everything go down, you might have fear that it's going to continue all the way down. So you might want to get out of that at a loss because you fear that it's going to get worse. And that is an emotional decision. Now, there's two ways of looking at this, because an emotional based decision is that you fear it's going to go down. And if you've not looked at any of the information, then yeah, you're basing it completely on emotion. But a good investor, what they will do is they will base their decisions on where the market's at, how to approach it, and what to do. And they will understand that recessions and market corrections are part of the investment landscape, and they will have limits in terms of the pain they're prepared to take. And if it hits that pain threshold, then they'll exit out of the market. And that's something that you'll have predetermined before you enter into the market with a stock or a bond or some form of trade or a business or a property even. You can do it with them all. But this is where you manage risk. You're assessing the potential highs and potential lows, and then you're working out what is likely to happen. And you factor the likely happen to the upside and the downside. And when you have limits, what happens is you will be able to go into it with the expectation that you understand that it could go against you, and you have a limit where you'll get out, and then you're not driven by fear without thought process or analysis. You've just made a line in the sand based on the figures and the data available, and that's where you're going to exit. You say enough's enough. That's good. That's well managed. And then on the other side, if you have greed, you will match, hey, look, I know I can take this money now, but I remember my long-term goal is this, so I'll stick to the plan and I'll not be distracted by greed. So we had a look at what that might mean in the big picture for all of us out there looking to improve our mindset. This is interesting because we're talking about risk management. Here is the biggest risk you can take. Are you ready for it? Some people never take the risk, and this in of itself is the biggest risk of them all, because you do not want to get stuck in that narrow mindset that hamstrings your potential. You never want that. The greatest fear of those, or the greatest regret of those that are nearing death, is they have regretted the things that they didn't do. So never, ever find yourself in that position. So we went on to say, successful people take the chance and will measure the risk versus the potential reward. And that's how we do it. Is this, if I get myself into shape, the risk is that I'll not feel very happy about not eating junk food, and I need to change up my ways, and I need to do some preparation in terms of preparing my meals and to stick on track and to monitor them. What's the reward? The reward is I'll be leaner, fitter, stronger, faster, more muscular. And I'm prepared to sacrifice the desires to eat junk so that I can have these things. That's what someone successful would do on a diet. And it's the same for a training plan, or if you want to start a new hobby, or if you want to start a new business, whatever it is, it's applicable. So manage the risk. Always remember the reward as well, because risks are out there, but so are rewards. Number 4, resilience. This is a really good one. Investing can be challenging and sometimes a stressful endeavour. A resilient investor is able to bounce back from setbacks and continue to pursue their goals despite the obstacles and setbacks that have come. So one of the things, like setting the expectation in investing is it doesn't always go up the way. One of the great guys that educated me and took me under their wing, even when I was a successful investor, taught me a library of wisdom that I'm eternally grateful for. And one of the things that they said is nothing goes up and down in a straight line. What that means is that people see the market going either directly up or directly down. It doesn't do that. It goes like this. It fluctuates. So when you have that fluctuation, back to like we discussed earlier with fear and doubt, is that when something doesn't go the direction that you want it to go, are you going to be able to ride it out? Or say something doesn't work, you try something and it doesn't work, will that put you off? Should you never go near it again? And what you do as an investor is you look back through what happened to see if you got information about something that you could have been aware of, or something that you could have noticed, or something that has came to light that you either didn't spot or you didn't know beforehand. And what you're looking to do is, if you replayed that event, knowing what you know now, would you do it again? And if the answer is no, because you found out some information, then you are better equipped for the next time that you approach it, so that you've gained as an investor, you've learned something. And when you do this in life, it's the same situation. You can play back situations where you go, look, would I do that the same way as I did it before? And you say, okay, I would change my approach. That means that you've learned something from that situation. So what causes resilience? What did we come up with in the mindset group? Here's what we had. Fear, lack of belief. This is what causes, this is what is the reason people don't have resilience. They have fear, lack of belief, lack of hardship, lack of exposure to outside their norms, right? So how do you become resilient? What you need to do is, resilience is you putting an effort when resistance is against you. So think of if you were to go on a treadmill, right, and you're walking along the treadmill. If you increase the incline, you're adding resistance because you need to walk uphill. It's making it more difficult for you to do the same thing. But the more you expose yourself to that resistance, the stronger you become. You become more resilient to that incline. Well, when you're in situations, you have mental resilience, which is you expose yourself to a situation and you develop that resilience by going against the resistance of that situation. And when you have fear, right, when you have fear, which is false expectations appearing real, because most fear actually isn't real. It's just something in somebody's head. There is real fear that you should listen to. You know, if you're looking eye to eye with a grizzly bear, you should be prepared to take action, and you should fear that the outcome isn't going to be great. Perfect time. But there's lots and lots of things that that fear, that false expectations appearing real, applies. And that can stop you from going into that resistance. So you might say, you know, look, I don't feel fit enough to put the incline up on the treadmill. It's just false. Or people like me don't get this. It's just false. It's nonsense. Get out of your head. Lean into the resistance because you'll become resilient. Lack of belief. So lack of belief is lack of self-belief. And how do you build self-belief? We go into the resistance, right? Because when you don't think you can do something and you go and give it a try, right? First of all, even if it doesn't go your way, you're going to get a bit of credit from yourself for giving it a try. Like, at least you had a go. And then if you are successful, and sometimes it might not be the first time or the second time or the third time, but it might be the fifth, sixth, seventh time, whenever it may be, you will get a result if you stick at it. If you stick at it and you listen to the feedback and you improve, you will get a better result. And that feels good. Then you start to believe in yourself. You start to believe in yourself, guess what it builds? Self-confidence. Not outwardly portrayed confidence as, hey, I'm really, really confident. I mean, inward, you exude that confidence in yourself. The other thing that we mentioned was lack of hardship. So when you haven't been exposed to any resistance, as soon as you experience resistance, you're just going to fold. You're going to say, hey, look, this is too much for me, because you haven't been in the environment or of hardships. That's why in Joe Rogan's got a great clip where he says all the people that are extremely mentally tough and extremely mentally successful, they've all been through hell. And the reason that most other people don't have that level of mental superiority over themselves is because they are not prepared to put themselves in hell. But some of these people have arrived there, and maybe they were the family they were born into, or maybe the place that they grew up, or maybe their parents or siblings, or something went really, really wrong, and they were in a situation that wasn't ideal, and it was hellish. But they had no choice but to improve, and that journey was something that they didn't get to pick, but they came out on top, and that's what Joe Rogan's talking about. And this exposure to those hardships will build your resilience. So what did we write? We wrote, successful people expect obstacles and setbacks. They will see it through, meaning they'll see through to their goals, regardless of what comes. They have their eyes on the long-term prize and do what it takes, thus hardening them to the environment, letting them thrive. So pretty powerful stuff there. We go on to say, number 5. This is the one that I think gets the least attention, but is equally as powerful as them all. And if you don't remember any of the ones that is on here, remember this one. Number 5 is growth mindset. A growth mindset is essential for any investor who wants to continuously improve and adapt to changing market conditions. A growth mindset involves a willingness to learn from mistakes, take calculated risks, and continually seek out new opportunities for growth and success. What that means is that you continue to push. You continue to develop. Hit your goal. Good. Make a bigger one. Really, really good at something. Great. What else can you learn? Where else can you improve? You want to try something new? New industry, bigger strategy, go into a different sector? Good. Do it. Keep growing. Keep developing. Sharpen your skills. Improve your talents. You had the potential to get successful at one thing. Well, what is it connected to? What can you learn? What can you develop? Become the top of your game with the maximum potential you have in you. That is the growth mindset, that you will continue to grow regardless of your success. So what did we write in the mindset coaching group? Which is, first of all, as you remember, why do people not do this? First thing was comfort trap. You think you've made it and that you can slow up. Take the foot off the gas and relax. You've heard me mention this before. I call it the comfort trap. When you've had a great result, you take your foot off the accelerator and you stop doing the things that made you a success in the first place. You've lost the hunger, lost the drive, and lost the focus. Look, anyone's done it. Completed a training plan. Yeah, completed it. And then did what? Went back to what you did before. Never stuck to it. You did really, really well and then stopped. It's madness. Absolutely madness. And we look back at our own lives and we go, we don't know why we did it. But it's there. It's amazing when we see it. It seems so simple. And it really is that simple. If you take your bullshit excuses out of your mind, if you go and ask yourself, is this bullshit that I'm listening to coming out of my own mouth the truth? You'll realise that you go, hey, like, I can do better than this. Deep down you know that. Deep down you really do. So what did we write? What's the opposite of that? Successful people stay on the streak longer. Meaning, did you do that? Did you hit your training plan, your diet, whatever your focus or your goal was? Did you do it today? Yes, good. Let's do it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And they keep the streak going. They can identify when they're in the comfort trap. So they'll identify when they're about to take the foot off the gas or relax or lose the focus or stop doing the things. They recognise it and they get back to it as soon as humanly possible. They get their foot back on that throttle. They seek discomfort and prefer being in a state of discomfort, which is growth, than seeking comfort. They're also looking to learn from as many inputs and perspectives as they can so that they can keep learning and keep their mind growing. That's the power of it. That is the power of what you can do out there. It's the power of how you can approach it, how you can go out there and you can maximize it. You can maximize it in whatever area of your life you want to be. You want to be a better parent. You want to be a better partner. You want to be a better business person. You want to be a better employee. You want to be better at fitness or the gym, or you want to get bigger or stronger or faster or leaner. All of these things fall into these principles. Remember, discipline, you need to stick to the plan. The goals will not show up instantly. You need to have patience because some things take time and you need to see it through. The third thing is manage risk. Right? Risk is there. The biggest risk of them all is you not taking the gamble, you not having a shot. That's the biggest risk. So remember that there's rewards. The risk can be worth taking if the rewards are where your life wants to be, where you want to go in life. Number 4 is resilience. So times are going to be tough. Things are going to go against you. Things will go against you, and that's part of how we learn. So expect them, face up to them, and remember to keep your eyes on the prize. Whatever that is in your life, make sure you keep your eyes on the goal. And then lastly, that growth mindset. When you get really good, and if you stick to these things, you will get good, right? You will get really good at something. Don't stop. Keep going. Hit a target, great, set the next one, and continue to grow. Because not only will your financial situation improve, your efficiency at how you do it will improve, the way that you can communicate will improve, the people that you can influence will improve, your communication will improve, and people will look to you to get the most out of themselves because you're living, walking, breathing proof of these principles. So I hope you enjoyed this look into Mount Mindset, a little peek behind the ebook, the pamphlet of knowledge that you would need to have to be a successful investor, and how that relates to life. Because look, you might think that that people are out with your sphere, but listen, there is principles that are the same for us all. Those things that we mentioned, you can apply in your life almost regardless of your situation. And if you apply these, you will improve your situation. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Conversations with an Investor. Give me a follow. I'm on all the social media channels. You like this kind of content, I'm going to be posting clips up. You can get your short clips. You can get your short hit of that info. Share it around. Share it with somebody that needs to hear this. Let them know. Let me know if you want some more of this. If you like it. What didn't you like? What did you like? And if you've got any good topics, let me know. If you've got any good guests, we're going to get a list of guests for the show. I'm looking for new guests. So if there's somebody out there with a good story, good mindset story, they don't need to be an investor, but if they've got a good tale to tell, maybe survived something, maybe been through hell, if they've got any of the things that we've discussed today, I'd love to have a chat with them. So let me know who they are. If it's you, hit me up. Remember, you can follow me on all my social media channels, so give me a follow over there. And if you want to find out about Mount Mindset, the links will be in the show notes. Also, we're doing the property community. Just finished recording some market commentary on how I work out what's coming next. I do some commentary on some of the articles and data that's been released and what we can determine from that. And I lay it over against some charts to say, hey, look, here's how this thing's moving. Here's the news before, and here's how this is shaping up. So if you like that sort of thing, get over there and join in the fun. And from me this week, that's a wrap.